Welcome to Dream Speak English. In every video, we explore stories that bring English to life. Today's journey takes us into the silent desert road at sunset, a place of golden light, ancient paths, and peaceful solitude. Let's get started. Part 1. The Golden Hour journey begins. Picture a road that stretches forward like a ribbon of dark asphalt, cutting through an endless landscape of sand and stone. The sun hangs low on the horizon now, painting everything in shades of amber and gold. This road has no beginning you can see, and no end that your eyes can find. It simply exists, patient and quiet, beneath a sky that grows softer with each passing moment. The desert surrounds this road on all sides. To your left, sand dunes rise and fall in gentle waves, their curves as smooth as silk. The wind has shaped them over countless years, grain by grain, into forms that seem almost alive. Each dune casts a long shadow now, purple and cool against the warm gold of the sunlit sand. These shadows grow longer as the sun descends, reaching across the desert floor like fingers stretching after a long rest. To your right, the landscape changes. Rocky hills emerge from the sand, their surfaces rough and ancient. Time has carved these stones into strange shapes, towers and arches, pillars and walls. The rocks hold many colors within them: rust red, dusty orange, pale cream, and sometimes bands of darker brown or black. As the sunset light touches them, these colors glow with an inner warmth. The rocks seem to remember every sunrise and sunset they have witnessed, storing that light within their mineral hearts. The road itself tells a story through its surface. Cracks run through the asphalt here and there, small rivers of damage where the desert heat has pressed down day after day, year after year. At the edges, sand has blown across the pavement, creating delicate patterns that shift and change with each gust of wind. The road has learned to coexist with the desert, neither fighting it nor surrendering to it, simply existing as a path through this vast and open world. Above all of this, the sky performs its evening transformation. What began as bright blue has softened into shades of orange near the horizon. Higher up, the orange fades to pink, and then to a pale lavender that seems to tremble with the last light of day. Small clouds drift across this canvas, each one catching the sun's rays and glowing like embers. The sky feels infinite here, unbroken by trees or buildings or mountains. You could lift your eyes upward and fall into that endless space, floating among those colors until sleep carries you away. Deserts cover about 1/5 of our Earth's land surface. They exist on every continent, from the Sahara in Africa to the Gobi in Asia, from the Sonoran in North America to the Great Victoria in Australia. Each desert has its own character, its own collection of shapes and colors and moods. What unites them all is dryness. These places receive very little rainfall, sometimes less than 10 inches in an entire year. Some deserts go years without a single drop of rain touching their thirsty ground. The word desert comes from an old Latin word meaning abandoned or left behind. Ancient peoples saw these dry lands as places the gods had forgotten, regions where water, the source of all life, had been withdrawn. This view shaped how humans thought about deserts for thousands of years. Travelers saw them as obstacles to cross quickly, dangerous voids between the green, living places where people could settle and thrive. Yet deserts have never truly been empty. Life finds ways to exist here, adapting to the harsh conditions with remarkable creativity. Plants spread their roots wide to catch every bit of moisture. Animals sleep through the hottest hours and wake when coolness returns. Seeds wait patiently in the sand for years, sometimes decades, until rain finally comes and gives them permission to bloom. The desert teems with life, though you must know how to look for it, must learn to see beyond the apparent emptiness to the vibrant world that pulses beneath the surface. And roads like this one have crossed deserts for as long as humans have wandered. These paths connected distant places, carried trade goods and stories, brought strangers together and sent travelers home. Every road through a desert carries an invisible weight of history, the accumulated memories of all who have passed along it. Camel caravans and wagon trains, lone wanderers and great armies, merchants and pilgrims and explorers, all have followed roads like this one, watching the same sunset colors bloom across the same endless sky. As you imagine yourself on this road now, feel how the day's heat has begun to fade. The air remains warm, but a gentleness has entered it. Soon the temperature will drop as the sun slips away completely. For now, this moment holds a perfect balance, neither the fierce heat of afternoon nor the surprising cold of night. This is the golden hour, when the light grows thick and honeyed, when everything glows with its own inner radiance. The silence here strikes you as profound. No cars pass. No voices call out. The wind itself has paused, as if the desert is holding its breath to watch the sunset in peace. In this quiet, you can hear the smallest sounds, the whisper of sand grains sliding down a dune's face, the distant cry of a bird you cannot see, the faint creak of cooling rock as the day's heat slowly releases its grip. This silence feels different from the quiet of a forest or a meadow. Forest silence comes padded with soft earth and moss, muffled by layers of leaves and branches. Desert silence arrives stark and clear, without cushioning or softness. Every sound that breaks it seems important, seems worth listening to. Your own breathing becomes part of the landscape's rhythm, slow and steady, matching the patient pulse of this ancient land. The road ahead wavers slightly in the last heat shimmer rising from the asphalt. This optical effect makes the distance look liquid, as if the road continues into a pool of water that forever recedes as you approach. These mirages have fooled countless travelers, offering false promises of relief to thirsty wanderers. But in this moment, the mirage simply adds to the dreamlike quality of the scene. Reality grows soft around the edges. The boundary between earth and sky blurs. You float in a space that feels suspended outside of ordinary time. Part 2: Ancient Paths and Nomadic Wisdom. Long before modern roads cut straight lines across the desert, ancient peoples found their way through these dry lands by reading subtle signs. They followed the stars at night, tracking familiar constellations across the sky. They watched for certain plants that only grew where underground water flowed close to the surface. They noticed how the wind carved the sand into particular patterns, and they learned to recognize these patterns as guideposts. The desert revealed its secrets slowly, only to those patient enough to learn its language. The Silk Road stands as perhaps the most famous of all desert routes. This network of paths connected China with the Mediterranean world, crossing thousands of miles of harsh terrain. Merchants traveled these routes carrying silk and spices, jade and jewels, bringing not only goods but also ideas, religions, and technologies from one civilization to another. The Silk Road passed through the Taklamakan Desert, a name that means, "Go in and you won't come out." Despite this ominous warning, traders made the journey again and again, drawn by profit and adventure, creating connections that shaped the ancient world. These caravans moved slowly, patiently. Camels walked at a steady pace, their broad feet keeping them from sinking into soft sand. A caravan might travel only 20 or 30 miles in a day, stopping at oases where water and shade offered respite from the journey's hardships. These oases became small worlds unto themselves, places where travelers from different lands met and traded, where stories were told and retold, where the desert's harsh isolation gave way to human warmth and companionship. The people who called these deserts home developed remarkable ways of living. Nomadic tribes moved with the seasons, following invisible routes that their ancestors had traveled for generations. They raised camels, goats, and sheep, animals that could survive on the sparse vegetation the desert offered. Their tents could be packed quickly and carried to the next camp, making them perfectly suited to a life of constant movement. These nomads understood the desert's moods and rhythms with intimate knowledge. They could predict where rain might fall by watching the clouds' subtle changes. They knew which plants could be eaten when food grew scarce, and which ones held medicine within their roots and leaves. They could navigate by observing how shadows fell at different times of day, using the sun as their compass. This knowledge passed from parents to children through stories and songs, ensuring that no generation would be lost in the vastness they called home. Bedouin peoples of the Arabian desert developed a culture centered around hospitality and honor. A stranger arriving at a Bedouin tent would be welcomed with generosity, offered food and shelter without question. This tradition arose from practical necessity. In the desert, any traveler might someday need help to survive, so helping others created a web of mutual support that protected everyone. But it became something deeper than mere survival strategy. It became a sacred duty, a core value that defined what it meant to be a good person in a harsh world. The Tuareg people of the Sahara wrapped themselves in flowing blue robes that protected them from sun and sand. The indigo dye from these robes would stain their skin, earning them the name Blue People of the Desert. They traveled vast distances across the Sahara, knowing routes that connected far-flung oases and trading posts. Their knowledge of the desert's geography made them invaluable as guides, and for centuries they controlled important trade routes, growing wealthy and powerful through their mastery of this hostile environment. In the American Southwest, ancestral Puebloan peoples built remarkable communities in desert canyons and on mesa tops. They engineered systems to capture and store every precious drop of rain. Their cliff dwellings nestled into canyon walls, offering protection from weather and enemies alike. These structures still stand today, empty now but still impressive, testifying to human ingenuity and determination. The descendants of these ancient peoples continue to live in the region, maintaining connections to the land that stretch back more than 1,000 years. Aboriginal Australians developed perhaps the deepest relationship with desert landscapes, living in the Australian outback for over 60,000 years. They memorized the locations of water sources across thousands of square miles, encoding this vital information in songs and stories. These songlines served as oral maps, allowing people to navigate the desert by singing the landscape into existence. Each rock formation, each waterhole, each distinctive tree had its place in the song, creating a web of knowledge that bound people to place and to each other. Trade routes weren't the only paths that crossed the desert. Pilgrimage roads carried believers to sacred sites. Muslims journeying to Mecca crossed Arabian deserts, facing hardships that tested their faith and determination. Buddhist pilgrims traveled desert routes between India and China, seeking sacred texts and enlightenment. Christian monks retreated to desert caves and hermitages, seeing the desert's emptiness as a place to encounter the divine without distraction. The desert became a spiritual landscape, a place of testing and transformation, where the soul could be stripped down to its essence and rebuilt stronger. Messages traveled these desert routes as well. Ancient Persian kings established a postal system that could carry royal decrees across their empire with remarkable speed. Relay stations stood at regular intervals, where fresh horses waited for tired riders. Similar systems arose in other desert regions: the Mongol Empire's Yam network, the Inca chasquis, all recognizing that controlling information meant controlling power, and that speed could overcome even the desert's vast distances. The roads themselves required constant maintenance in the face of the desert's attempts to reclaim them. Sand would blow across paths, obscuring them overnight. Flash floods could wash out sections in minutes, despite the desert's usual dryness. Workers would have to clear the route again and again, fighting an endless battle against nature's patient persistence. Yet people kept these roads open, recognizing their importance for trade, communication, and cultural exchange. Caravanserais, roadside inns, sprouted along major desert routes. These fortified structures offered safety and comfort to travelers. Within their walls, merchants could rest, water their animals, and conduct business. Some caravanserais grew into small towns, with shops and workshops clustering around them. Others remained simple shelters, offering only the bare essentials of shade, water, and protection. All served the same fundamental purpose: creating islands of human civilization in the desert's sea of emptiness. As you rest in this imagining, picture those ancient travelers making camp for the night. They would gather around fires, sharing food and stories. The stars would emerge overhead, brilliant and countless in the desert's clear air. Someone might play music, a flute's haunting melody, or a drum's steady rhythm. Songs would rise up into the darkness, human voices defying the silence, asserting that we exist, we endure, we find joy even in the hardest places. The road you imagined at the beginning of this story carries echoes of all these ancient paths. The asphalt may be modern, but the route follows patterns laid down thousands of years ago. Water sources that sustained ancient caravans still lie beneath the surface, in the same places. The sunrise and sunset still paint the landscape in the same colors that amazed travelers centuries past. Roads change their surfaces but keep their essential purpose: connecting what is separated, making journeys possible, transforming the unreachable into the reachable, 1 mile at a time. Part 3: The Science of Desert Light and Living Rhythms. The colors spreading across the sky follow laws of physics that have remained constant since Earth first had an atmosphere to scatter sunlight. As the sun drops lower, its light must travel through more of the atmosphere to reach your eyes. This longer journey changes the light you see. The atmosphere filters out shorter wavelengths, blues and greens, while allowing longer wavelengths like reds, oranges, and yellows to pass through. This filtering creates the spectacular palette of sunset. Particles and molecules in the air scatter the light in different directions. Small particles scatter short wavelengths, which is why the sky appears blue during the day. Larger particles, dust, water vapor, pollutants, scatter longer wavelengths more effectively. Desert air often contains fine dust particles suspended from the day's winds, and these particles enhance the sunset's intensity. The orange and red light scatters across the sky, creating those layers of color that deepen from pale gold near the horizon to rich crimson above. In deserts, the air's dryness contributes to the clarity of these colors. Humid air softens and diffuses light, creating haziness that mutes colors. Desert air, stripped of moisture, allows light to travel cleanly and clearly. Colors appear more saturated, more pure. The distinction between different shades becomes sharper. This clarity extends to the stars as well. Desert skies offer some of the clearest views of the cosmos available anywhere on Earth. Astronomers build observatories in deserts specifically to take advantage of these exceptional viewing conditions. The temperature begins its nightly descent as the sun's direct heating fades. Desert temperatures can swing wildly between day and night, sometimes varying by 40 or 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This happens because the same dryness that creates clear colors prevents the atmosphere from holding heat. Water vapor acts as a blanket, trapping warmth close to the ground. Without much water vapor, desert heat radiates away quickly once the sun sets. Within an hour or two, the air can shift from uncomfortably hot to surprisingly cold. The ground releases its stored heat slowly throughout the night. If you could touch the sand or rocks now, they would still feel warm. The asphalt road holds heat especially well, its dark surface having absorbed energy all day. This warmth rising from the ground creates subtle air currents that stir the cooling air. These currents remain gentle now, just enough to occasionally lift a wisp of sand or rustle a dried plant's leaves. Later in the night, as temperatures stabilize, even these small movements will cease and the air will grow perfectly still. Desert wildlife understands these temperature shifts intimately. Many animals have adapted to avoid the day's extreme heat entirely. They shelter in burrows, under rocks, in any shadow they can find, waiting for evening to bring cooler conditions. Now, as the temperature becomes comfortable, these creatures begin to emerge. Rodents venture out from their burrows, beginning their nightly search for seeds and plants. Kit foxes leave their dens to hunt, their large ears helping them locate prey in the darkness. These ears serve double duty. They also help dissipate heat, acting as radiators to cool the fox's blood. Many desert animals have evolved similar features: large ears, long legs, pale coloring. Each adaptation helps them survive in conditions that seem designed to prevent life. Sidewinder rattlesnakes trace their distinctive J-shaped paths across cooling sand, leaving tracks that look like cursive writing in an unknown language. These snakes move sideways to minimize contact between their bodies and the hot surface beneath them, though now, as evening arrives, this strategy becomes less necessary. Still, instinct guides them, and they maintain their peculiar gait regardless of the temperature. They hunt for small rodents, using heat-sensing pits near their eyes to detect warm-blooded prey even in complete darkness. Insects begin their evening chorus. Crickets chirp, their rate of chirping tied directly to the air temperature. You can estimate the temperature by counting cricket chirps. Faster chirping means warmer air, slower chirping indicates cooler conditions. This biological thermometer has been clicking along reliably for millions of years, long before humans invented instruments to measure temperature. Scorpions emerge from hiding places, their pale bodies glowing eerily under ultraviolet light. They fluoresce naturally, though scientists still debate exactly why. Perhaps this glow helps them avoid each other in the darkness, preventing territorial conflicts. Perhaps it shields them from harmful ultraviolet light during the day. Or perhaps it serves no purpose at all, merely a side effect of proteins in their exoskeleton. Regardless of the reason, scorpions patrol the night desert, hunting for insects and spiders, their curved tails held high and ready. Nocturnal birds take wing. Nighthawks swoop through the air, their mouths gaping wide to scoop up flying insects. Owls perch on rocks or cacti, their extraordinary hearing allowing them to detect the faint scratching of a mouse moving through sand. Porwills, one of the few birds capable of true hibernation, call out their name repeatedly, "Porwill, porwill," a sound that Native Americans interpreted as a soul returning to its earthly form. Bats emerge from caves and crevices, their sonar clicks bouncing off the landscape as they navigate and hunt. Some bat species in American deserts feed on cactus nectar, hovering like tiny helicopters at night-blooming flowers. They transfer pollen from plant to plant, providing a crucial service to these desert ecosystems. Without bats, many cactus species would fail to reproduce, and the desert would become poorer, less diverse. Plants, too, respond to the desert's daily rhythm. Many cacti open their flowers only at night, attracting moths and bats rather than daytime pollinators. This strategy helps them avoid water loss. Daytime flowering would expose their delicate petals to intense heat and direct sunlight. Night-blooming cereus produces large white flowers that open after dark and wilt by morning, their brief existence timed perfectly to the cool darkness when their pollinators are active. Some desert plants have evolved a special form of photosynthesis that allows them to collect carbon dioxide at night when temperatures are cooler and water loss through their leaves would be minimized. They store this carbon dioxide in special acids, then process it into sugars during the day when sunlight is available. This complex system requires more energy than normal photosynthesis, but the water savings make it worthwhile in the desert's harsh conditions. The desert's daily cycle creates two worlds in the same space: the scorching, seemingly lifeless day, and the cool, bustling night. Each requires different survival strategies, different adaptations. Animals and plants divide into day and night teams, rarely encountering each other, living parallel lives in the same landscape. This temporal division allows more species to coexist than the desert's resources would seem to support. By splitting the day into shifts, life maximizes its use of limited opportunities. As you continue your imaginary journey along this road, picture the landscape awakening around you. Small movements catch your eye: a sidewinder's track appearing in the sand, a bat's shadow passing across the pavement, the bob of a kit fox's tail disappearing behind a bush. The desert reveals its secret vitality, showing you that emptiness was always an illusion. Life persists here, thrives here even, in forms both familiar and strange. The last light clings to the western horizon now, a thin band of orange and pink that grows darker even as you watch. The first stars appear, faint at first but growing brighter as the sky darkens. Soon thousands of stars will scatter across the black dome overhead, more stars than most people ever see in their light-polluted cities. The Milky Way will become visible, that cloudy band of distant suns that ancient people saw as a river in the sky, or a path for spirits, or the backbone of the universe. Temperature continues its slow decline. The warmth rising from the road becomes more noticeable as the air cools around it. You might draw closer to that residual heat, grateful for its comfort as night's chill settles in. Soon even this heat will fade, and the road will become as cold as everything else, waiting patiently for tomorrow's sun to warm it again. Part 4. Roads as Symbols, Journeys as Transformation. Roads have always meant something beyond their physical presence. They carry metaphorical weight that human cultures have recognized and explored for thousands of years. A road represents possibility, the chance to leave where you are and arrive somewhere new. It represents freedom, the open path calling you forward, no barriers blocking your way. It represents danger, the unknown waiting ahead, challenges you cannot predict. And it represents transformation, the understanding that travel changes you, that the person who arrives will differ from the person who departed. Writers and poets have returned to road imagery again and again. Walt Whitman sang of the Song of the Open Road, celebrating the wanderer's spirit and the democracy of the path that welcomes all travelers equally. Jack Kerouac made the American road trip into a symbol of spiritual searching and generational restlessness. Cormac McCarthy set stories on harsh roads through harsh landscapes, using the journey as a frame for examining survival, morality, and human nature. Each author found different meanings in the road, but all recognized its power as a symbol. Desert roads carry additional layers of meaning. The desert itself represents emptiness, absence, the stripping away of excess until only essentials remain. A road through the desert becomes a lifeline, a thread of human intention drawn across a landscape that seems indifferent to human needs. Following this road requires faith, faith that it leads somewhere, that the journey's difficulties will eventually end, that meaning exists even in the crossing of apparent emptiness. Religious traditions have often used desert journey imagery. The Israelites wandered the desert for 40 years in the biblical story of Exodus, a journey that transformed them from slaves into a nation. Jesus retreated to the desert to fast and pray, confronting temptation in that bare landscape. Muhammad received his first revelations while meditating in a desert cave. The desert becomes a place of testing, where the divine speaks more clearly than it can amid civilization's noise and distractions. The road itself offers a different spiritual metaphor. Buddhist teachers speak of the path to enlightenment, a journey that requires patience and persistence. Christian writers describe the narrow road that leads to salvation. Taoist sages mention the way, a path that flows naturally through the world. These metaphorical roads all share certain characteristics. They require commitment to walk. They involve leaving behind familiar comforts. They promise transformation to those who complete the journey. Modern people still feel the pull of the open road, though our journeys happen in cars rather than on foot or camelback. Something deep in the human psyche responds to the sight of a road stretching toward the horizon. We imagine ourselves on that road, moving forward, leaving behind whatever troubles us, heading toward something better, different, new. The road promises change, and change, even when it brings challenges, feels necessary to the living of a full life. A desert road at sunset brings together multiple powerful symbols. The desert represents solitude and reflection. The road represents journey and possibility. The sunset represents endings and transitions. Combined, they create a moment rich with meaning, a chance to reflect on where you have been and where you are going, a moment suspended between day and night, between one state and another. In this quiet moment on this imaginary road, you can release the day's concerns. They fall away like sand sifting through your fingers, leaving only the essential you, the awareness that watches the colors change, the consciousness that moves through time and space, the spirit that continues its journey through all of life's varied landscapes. The road teaches patience. It reminds you that some distances cannot be rushed, that arrival will come in its own time. The desert teaches acceptance. It shows you that harsh conditions can be endured, that beauty exists even in difficult places, that life adapts to whatever circumstances it encounters. The sunset teaches letting go. It demonstrates that all things end, and that endings can be beautiful, and that endings always precede new beginnings. Stories told around campfires along roads like this one have always featured journeys. Heroes set out on quests, facing trials and returning transformed. Ordinary people leave home to seek fortune and wisdom. Lovers separate and reunite. Strangers meet and become friends. The journey provides the structure that allows change to occur, that allows characters to become different versions of themselves. Your own life follows a similar structure. You are always traveling a road, always in transit between where you have been and where you are going. Some sections of this road cross easy terrain, smooth pavement, gentle grades, pleasant scenery. Other sections challenge you, rough surfaces, steep climbs, monotonous emptiness that tests your resolve. But the road continues, and you continue on it, day by day, mile by mile, accumulating experiences and insights as you go. The desert road at sunset offers a gift, this moment of peace and beauty, this pause in the journey when you can simply exist without striving. The colors soften around you. The air cools and calms. The silence deepens into something profound and nourishing. You can rest here, in this moment, in this imaginary place that carries echoes of all desert roads and all sunsets. Let your breath slow to match the desert's patient rhythm. Let your thoughts settle like dust after wind has passed. Let the day's tensions drain away into the cooling sand. You are safe here, on this road, in this moment. Nothing requires your immediate attention. Nothing demands your response. You can simply be, simply watch, simply rest. The road will continue tomorrow. The journey will resume when you are ready. But for now, in this gentle hour, you can release all concerns and sink into the peace that this desert evening offers. The stars will keep their watch overhead. The road will remain solid beneath you. The desert will hold this space, patient and constant, while you rest and restore yourself. Colors fade to deeper tones, purple and indigo replacing orange and pink. The first coolness of true night touches your skin, refreshing and gentle. In the distance, a coyote calls, its voice carrying across miles of open space. Another answers, farther away, and then another, until a chorus of wild voices celebrates the night's arrival. This is their time, their world, and they welcome it with song. You are part of this moment, connected to this landscape and this road and this endless cycle of day giving way to night. You belong here, in this timeless space where past and present and future all meet on a ribbon of road beneath a darkening sky. Rest now. Let the desert hold you. Let the road carry you gently into dreams. Thank you for traveling this desert road with me. If these nighttime stories bring you peace, please subscribe for more journeys into sleep. I'd love to hear where you'd like to wander next. Share your ideas in the comments below. Rest well, dear traveler.